Howdy everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Talking Synths, episode 88. I'm joined today by our newer employee. He's been here a little while, but he hasn't been on a video yet. Josh.
Hello.
And I'm Kenneth. Josh is a tech here, and he works on dismantling and fixing keyboards. How's it going?
Hanging in there.
So, what are we talking about today?
I guess drone synths.
Drone synthesis. All right. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with drone synthesis. What we got going on in this setup?
This is just a simple. It's a Volca with some effects, but you can use, as long as it's got something's got an oscillator, you can kind of use it as a drone synth. Because they're typically like noise makers, or like for modular guys who like to just like tweak knobs and like get weird. They're probably not very, they're fun to mess with, but probably not fun to listen to normally. But I do think there are some melodic applications as well as other applications that aren't necessarily on the surface.
I got a lot of weirdo friends that are into harsh noise and strange music, so I think there's definitely a crowd for it out there to appeal to. But so what do we got going in the chain? We got Volca keys going to Digitech.
The JHS Panther Cub into the Digitech PDS 1002, which is like a 2-second digital delay, 2-second like sampler. It's like the precursor to the DL4 by Line 6, because it has that loop function that everyone loves. I love it too, but this is cool because you get weird rhythms with just 2 seconds.
Nice. And what's the Panther Cub?
The Panther Cub's an analog delay, but it's got tap tempo, which is pretty wild. I like that it has a subdivision of the delay time as a knob and not a switch, so you kind of get weird in between subdivisions. Like you get like quarter note and dotted eighth like in between that, rather than just one or the other. And it has a really nice modulation can get really tape warbly.
So why are you running them through pedals?
Just so it's variation on some drones, because drone you can have one or more oscillators. This one just has one oscillator, so just ways to vary it, get some variation. You can use it to, especially this pedal, you can use it to get copy sound and then kind of harmonize it with itself, so you can get like intervals.
Do you have to use delays?
No.
So you would pretty much, you just need some sort of sound source to make a noise to start from, and then from there just kind of manipulate it till it sounds like a weird drony, pretty, or scary sound.
If you have multiple oscillators, you can get dissonances between the pitches of the oscillators, kind of like a tremolo effect. That's really cool. And or you can tune them to intervals that are pleasant, or just get really nasty and whatever. But if you have one oscillator through some pedals, then you can kind of make a little bit, is it more with less or whatever?
Totally, yeah. Get nasty with it.
Yeah.
We were originally going to do this with a DIY synthesizer that Josh built, but it was just a little too powerful. So we're going to do that in a separate episode. But for now, let's get something going.
Okay, so then with that, if you want to, can't really change the pitch on this one when it's looped, unless I physically move the note.
So you could physically play it if you wanted to, but kind of the idea is to keep it constant. So.
I would say typical drone synths don't have the keyboard application. You can control synthesizers with a lot of different things, and it's just like the keyboard format is a universal thing that we are all familiar with, so that's what we mostly do, but a lot of them will have just a knob with potentiometers with a frequency range.
That's what you got to work with. And in this case, we're running the sequencer. So ideally it would be better to kind of have the decay trailing a little bit. That way it's not deep, 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 deep. You get more of a constant.
You can do weird like dissonances with, I can't really hear it too bad.
Yeah, I can't hear it. filmmaker friends have started hitting me up to do soundtrack kind of score stuff for projects they've worked on, and I find myself being drawn to kind of the opposite of how I'll usually make music, where whenever I'm writing a song or something for my own project, I like that quantized, four on the floor kind of thing, whereas if I'm doing some sort of kind of soundscape, even if I am utilizing percussion, I like to kind of go non-synced. Like I'll just get a drum machine going with something really, even if it's just a kick drum to start with, like a heartbeat or something. I'm really inspired by like the first Terminator soundtrack and stuff like that. But one of my favorite things about the JX3P that I play is the sequencer is kind of a pain to sync to MIDI, so I'll just put in a sequence and then just start playing with the speeder knob and affecting it, and like sometimes I'll even just get it real low in my bedroom and have it as like my background music while I'm just hanging out in my room. But I feel like kind of droney stuff would have a better application for.
I don't think droney necessarily means like long notes. I think there's a rhythmic application in the sense of like if it's a repetitive rhythm, like if you say a word over and over again, it starts to sound weird and different after a while. So like it's kind of like I do a lot of tape loops and stuff like that. And if you get a tape loop and then I put a drum beat, a sequence on there, it's not going to be a full phrase. So you're going to get these like hiccups or these. And then, but after a while, like it starts to feel like an actual like pulse, even though it's like asymmetric or like not full. You can't really tap your foot to it because it's like
but
half of
you get into the swing.
Yeah,
of it.
I really like that aspect. And you can do that with this kind of stuff too. Like, I don't know if that was a good explanation of that or example of that, but.
So when you're using this Digitech, what does each pedal?
So one's just a delay.
And just one the actual
One's like
sample?
it's a repeat, 2-second repeat. So it'd be like, it's kind of weird because it's old and digital. So whenever you have these, like, it's like 3 times, like super short, and like a medium short and like a long. But whenever you switch, it has to like load or something. It's weird. But so then record a second. So it never gets that like self oscillation that goes crazy. So this is cool because if you do like a single note with it, this can be your pitch control. Like you can turn off the delay and it'll still have that though.
Okay.
I've used it as like an EBO kind of situation melodically, where with like a drone, just any note. If you know what note you're starting out with, if you have a keyboard or whatever, but I used an oscillator, so I had no idea. You can put it through a tuner with a bypass on, so you can kind of see what note it is, but then you can change the frequency and you get kind of like an EBO effect because you're bending up to the note or whatever and following the chord progression, whatever you want to use it, but it's kind of like an EBO or like a slide guitar kind of.
So, and then EBO is that little device that you would hold it onto your guitar and it vibrates.
Yeah, it uses a light to vibrate it, so you don't hear any articulation, like there's no picking. You can kind of use it to like it's an electronic bow, like a violin bow, but
Yeah, it almost works like if you're playing a synth and you're using glide or portamento,
Exactly,
but
yeah.
for guitar.
yeah. So like in this example, the frequency range isn't super wide.
Yeah.
But it is something, you know, you can, it's just something that's kind of neat.
So how does someone get into drone synths?
I don't know. You can buy a synthesizer. Any synthesizer with an oscillator will work. Like, if you want to go big, you can get like an MS-20, and there's like, that has a great hold feature on it, as well as the envelope. You can put the decay and sustain up. You can build your own. There's some pretty simple circuits if you're into circuits out there. The CMOS 4106 chip is a pretty simple circuit. There's also DIY kits. One of the reasons I think they're a little popular is because the affordability of them. The chips or the kits range from $10 to $800. So I built some that were about $20. The Syntaur 4093 NAND. Those are cool because it has 3 oscillators. You can get it as complicated as you want, all the way up to the those Somas Lyra 8s. Those weird esoteric ones that are pretty expensive. You can buy DIY kits of those, but I think those are also pretty expensive. But they're a little cheaper than assembly ones. I mean, you can get a guitar pedal and then a microphone and just record, like loop your voice or something. If you have a DAW, you can do some manipulation in DAWs. The only thing about like using like VST stuff is like you can't turn 2 knobs at once. You know, with a mouse, that's kind of,
Unless you get a MIDI controller
yeah.
and map it and then have that. Yeah, I mean, this is a little out of my wheelhouse, but what would be attractive to me would just be the sound exploration of like, okay, there's no rules. You might be making some noises that don't sound too pleasant to the ears, but I think what would be attractive to me would be the happy accidents where maybe I'm sitting in my room droning out for 3 hours, but there's that one little moment that was like, whoa, that sounds really cool.
For sure.
I'm glad I recorded it. I'm gonna sample that or something, you know?
I mean, I like the misuse of the instrument or whatever. Like, I kind of like, I look at an instrument or some sort of gear and be like, how can I mess this up? Like, how can I use this improperly, you know?
Just raw creativity.
Yeah, because it's like, melody and harmony are really important to me, but like, sometimes it's just like, I just want to create like
Cool
sound, you know, like
noises.
just, yeah. I mean, I totally understand when people won't, it's not appealing to some people because it sounds, though, like the 15 seconds you get that's really awesome, it took 3 hours of gross to get there, you know? So
totally.
I can see people not having that much patience, and it's one of those things that's definitely like your own personal relationship with it rather than.
Well, you gotta tell those people, like, hey, have you seen the dark side of the moon behind the scenes in the studio where they're just going, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah. And so I think it's really cool too to like, when it's played loud, you can feel it. And like, it's like if you ever tune a guitar string and you hear those waves, because when they're out of tune, it gets slower and faster. But you can do that with 2 oscillators, and it's just like this. That's one of the reasons I play bass. It's just, you can, depending on what you're playing it out of, you know, you can just feel it. It's great. Because everything's waves, you know, like light's waves. It's just how we interpret it. Our body interprets it, whether it be through, you know, sound or sight. You know, it's pretty wild. But something can be pretty too when it's meant to be. I like using noise stuff as like an unintended melody. You know what I mean? There's this one noise guy. He makes a lot of DIY synths called Mattoverse. He has a bunch of drone synths that are cool, but he has an air trash pedal. It's called air trash, and he says, I bought one. They're pretty cheap. It's pretty much kind of like a ring modulator fuzz thing, but he says, I literally don't know what these knobs do. He's like, one of them's pretty much volume. I can get that, but the other 2 are just, you know, I like putting that on something and just mess it up. It's kind of like a destructive I don't know, sound design or something, but then make that melodic. Like use it as like a challenge. Try to make that melodic.
Yeah.
You know. I don't know.
That's cool. Let's make a weird drum.
Yeah. Do you want rhythmic based or you want to try one?
Yeah, let's just go back and forth and see what kind of noises we can make. All right, y'all, that is our tiptoeing into drone synthesis. I hope there was some valuable information in there. I'm Kenneth, this is Josh. Make sure to follow us on Patreon and Facebook and Instagram and all those goodies. You can check us out at syntaur.com. And yeah, modulator.
Modulator.